Following segment on KROC AM is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher and Spence. Wait a minute, let me turn your mic on, Andrew.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent.
All right.
What's our topic for the day?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to email, didn't I?
No, it's a surprise for everyone, as long as you know what it is.
Yeah, I do. So what I was thinking with the 4th of July holiday coming up, it kind of triggered something in me about coverages. You know, the 4th of July is a heavy drinking weekend, and unfortunately you see a lot of accidents, accidents involving alcohol. And in Minnesota, typically, your auto policy is going to cover you for compensatory damages. So, for example, if you're intoxicated and you have an accident and someone is injured, it's going to pay, you're going to be able to provide compensation. Theoretically, hopefully you have enough coverage to the individuals who are injured for pain and suffering, for medical expenses, for wage loss. But one of the things your insurance does not cover are things such as punitive damages. So when you have a motor vehicle accident in Minnesota and it involves alcohol, the injured person has a right to obviously pursue the claim through litigation in the court system. Typically, a lawsuit is initiated, and at some point in time, they can petition the court or go to the court and ask to amend their complaint to add a claim for punitive damages. And the idea in Minnesota behind punitive damages is that when you engage in conduct where you have a deliberate disregard for the rights and safety of others, i.e. being over .08 and choosing to get in a vehicle and injuring someone, that an individual has the right to pursue punitive claims against you, sort of punishment, essentially, above and beyond their actual compensatory damages. Unfortunately, your insurance doesn't cover you. And so it's extremely important for people to keep that in mind. Not that, I have insurance, therefore I should go drink and drive, no big deal. But it's not going to cover you in those circumstances.
It's probably all right, though, to remind people that it's not just as simple as court costs, higher insurance rates. I mean,
major ticket.
Drinking and driving is a huge deal.
It's a huge deal, and in fact, and Zach would be better to speak on this particular issue, but in the last week, there was legislation that was signed into law regarding the thresholds for driving under the influence to take it up to the level of a gross misdemeanor. Your first-time DUI, if you're at .16, you can be charged with a gross misdemeanor, which increases the punishment, increases issues involving licensure, fines, potential jail time. And that threshold is surprisingly not very high when you think about it in the context of a normal individual. I'm a little bigger than you, Rich. Unfortunately, I need to lose some weight. So, maybe it'll take me 4 beers to get to .08. But, at .16, you could have an individual who has 6 or 7 beers in a 2 to 3 hour window. And they may not think they're that high, but they easily could be.
I was reading something the other day about the different states, and there's quite a difference from state to state to state as to what their penalties are for drunk driving. I mean, there are some, and I can't remember, I know Alaska is like number 2, but there was another state where for first offenders you get up to a year in jail.
Yeah, and it really does vary from state to state. I mean, you do have higher punishments in terms of jail time, increased fees, loss of license, forfeiture of vehicles, depending on the level that you're at. There are things that people, don't think about when they get behind the wheel and start drinking and driving. Even, for example, you want to go to Canada fishing, but you've got a DUI on your record. You may have a hard time crossing the border into Canada if you have that conviction sitting there.
So if you're driving, say you're going on vacation, maybe you're just throw Montana out there, you're out there visiting the parks or something, and you get pulled over for drunk driving. Are you under their rules, or do you revert to Minnesota?
You're going to be under their rules. I mean, and it depends on a state-to-state analysis in terms of whether they're going to honor some of the forfeiture, licensure type issues. But generally speaking, you're going to be subject to the punishment under their statute, whether it be fines, jail time, forfeiture of the vehicle. And in addition, it becomes even more expensive when you're out of state, because ultimately you're going to have to make appearances back in Montana for court. Nothing like getting pulled over in some random rural Montana county and having to go back 3 or 4 times because of a DUI conviction.
You were going to throw one at us, and so I'll now throw one at you. When you said 4th of July is what you wanted to talk about, my father-in-law does not want anybody shooting fireworks off on his property because of the legal he's afraid that if somebody got hurt, because there's always all sorts of people around, or
Sure.
if something fell on one of his neighbors' houses, is that ever a claim that you have had to worry about?
I have never, ever seen that myself. Minnesota does have certain levels that are permissible that in terms of the fireworks that you can use. There are certain things you can't use. I have never seen it. In fact, I've never really seen it. I'm going to say this, not enforced by law enforcement very often, but I don't think that that's ultimately going to be too much of an issue so long as what you're using is not to the extreme.
Don't accidentally burn down your neighbor's house.
No, that's a good idea.
No
too.
TNT.
Yeah, none of that. Somebody needed to get a hold of an attorney at Meshbesher and Spence. Andrew, what's the number to call?
1-800-845-1021.
All right. And you have a great week.
You too.
Andrew Davick from Meshbesher and Spence.